grab your popcorn and snacks, find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hey everybody, welcome to California Haunts Radio. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks at least, except for the Sunday show. So welcome everyone. My name is Charlotte. I am going to be your host for the next hour. Our good friend, medium Nancy Matz, is going to be with us today as well. I'm trying to get more consistent shows set up for you guys. So I'm trying to kind of like testing out this time because I do my 6 p.m. show on TikTok every day. So if I can get to where I can do this at 4 p.m. without feeling really exhausted, this is where the show is going to be from here on in at 4 p.m. Pacific. I do have some guests that have contacted me that would like to be back on my show, and yeah, I'm going to contact them back at some point and get that going. Plus, well, let me get Nancy on, and Nancy and I can kind of chit-chat back and forth. That's what we do. Anyway, my name is Charlotte. I'm the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento. We're 45 strong up and down the state of California, which means if you think you have a paranormal need and you need help, just get a hold of us, okay? And you can find us all over social media, okay? I have social media everywhere. Also, down at the bottom, you know, we do work on donations, so if you feel in your heart, you can do that. If not, that's fine too, you know, just like, follow, and share. Like, follow, share, and subscribe. Anyway, getting back to all this, today, we're an interesting topic. I do card readings in the evenings, and this topic always comes up. And people, death. And I think this is something that everybody faces. So, death. What happens when somebody dies? What happens after they die? Are they able to come back and see us? Do they just cross over and they're living in the Elysian Fields? Is that where they're at? So that's what Nancy and I are going to talk about tonight. And I think, it's something that's a long time coming for my show and stuff. And hopefully people will come over from TikTok, the other thing to watch. I know YouTube hates that name. And to watch this, and maybe later on to watch the replay. But that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is where do your relatives go, or family or friends or whatever, and what happens after they pass. Are they able to come back and forth and whatnot? So I can relate some stuff of my own, experience that way, as well as 25 years ghost hunting. And then Nancy will, of course, have her wonderful information. So let me get Nancy up and in here so we can get this show going, okay? And I do have my glasses, so anything can happen, and it usually does.
There
we go.
You got the right buttons on there.
Otherwise, I'll be right in your face, trying to see it.
Yeah. So
How are
in the
you?
beginning, good enough. To start the show off, we usually say where you can find me. Hopefully, I haven't gone to look at what Char has posted below. I'm at 2 websites. My name, nancymatzpsychic.com, and nancymatzauthor.com if you want to touch base with me. Back up a little bit. I was married, worked for a telephone company. Last few years were engineering supervisor, and I needed to share in 87 when I was 39 years old. Hi, Jennifer. I got breast cancer, and it was stage 3.5. And in 1987, that was a death sentence. I thought I was really going to die. They gave me the treatment to get through this. In those years, it was pretty brutal, and it made me realize the frailty of life. Here I was even 40 years old, and I was looking at the end. And of course, nowadays we have such a bigger population. They have a greater way of diagnosing cancer. So we have appears to be a bigger number. In reality, the percentages are probably the same. It's just that when I was younger, I'm 77 now, it was dark ages. It was a way long time ago. But it frightened me so much that I started, and I grew up because we married very early, right out of high school, dated for 4 years. Good Catholic kids do that in those years. And so realizing how valuable living is, breathing and being in your own person, made me divorce him and seek out my own life. I was with the telephone company a couple of years, and they said, by golly, we got it. You may live now. And it was such a shock to me. But that statement made me say to the universe, Thank you for my life and my sanity. And if you wish I worked for the rest of your life, I kind of like did like that. And the inside of the car went, well, and I went, oh. 5 days later, I was end up at Spirit of Grace, where I was introduced to mediumship. I'd always been this way, born this. I say I was born with this condition. It's true. And I have a long story. You don't need to die if you want more history and how this happened. I'll be glad to share it later on. But what that did is I got to a place of realizing that in the throes of my fearful of my own life, how was it that I was seeing spirit people? Why
Mhm.
wouldn't I associate living, death, and survival is a plus? And when I got married in the Holy Family Catholic Church, Auburn, Old Auburn Boulevard, Citrus Heights, California, everybody's going to go, "Oh my God, I know that church." Huge, big. We were one of the first kids to get married in June, um, which is coming up June of '67. And while we were marching down to the altar to do our thing, there were spirit people watching me. And I went, "What? What?" And Catholic people don't believe in that, right? I'm going, "What's this?" And one guy was walking up, he's going, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah," like this. And I looked at him like, he looked at me like, I remember him looking at me. He had light colored pants. I'm very visual. He had light colored pants like doctors would be and a light colored shirt. And I looked at him like, hmm. And I never associated death because I was so young and survival and why are we so afraid of the afterlife and why, on and on and on. So divorced, started dating, and this gentleman, we were both young at that time, took me to Arden Fair Mall for dinner, and then we were going to see a show. And we were eating, and the place was full of people watching other people eat. Remember, I'm telling you secrets, everybody, right? And it's not like they could eat, but their humanness was still part of who they are.
Mhm.
And this very skinny guy with this very large woman, arm in arm, came over and was watching us eat. I looked up at him and I said, "Please, this is a private dinner." And I thought they were going to die all over again. Whoa. They backed up. This woman went, I can't remember putting her arms up, but I remember stepping back and thinking, what? She sees us? Like, what? And I'm so visual that anyway, it's a long story, artist family. And I'm just this is my gift, I guess, as I see this. And I remember the gentleman took me dinner at Cliff, West Coast Cliff, and he says, "You're seeing people, aren't you?" Because he was part of Spirit of Grace and he knew this
Mhm.
what I was. And I go, "You won't believe this, but this couple came over, interfered with our meal." And and yet I'm living life and it still hasn't occurred to me, even though I do this every day, and I'll tell you what happened. These people are us. What was I thinking? And so we had a death in the family and a dying man in the family. And I went to visit the hospital, and his wife and my mother were sitting there. And their mother superimposed herself on me. And I said to this man, "Well, what kind of trouble you got you into today?" And I thought the two women would die. And they said, "What? What?" And it was the expression that she always said to this kid when he was this dying man who was in his minute, when he was a boy. And they said, "What do you say?" And I go, "Blah, blah, blah, blah." And they got that I had channeled information, but it changed him. It changed him. And I see the value of recognizing, as you do ghost investigations, that we're disconnected from the idea of death and disconnected from the idea of survival. We'll watch ghost movies or ghost shows, we'll do investigations, but we aren't associating, we want to call them demons and monstrous things all the time. And in 35 years, I told Shar this maybe a few weeks back. Please remember, this is me. I am a minister of this. I believe in this wholeheartedly. And I said, I've never seen a demon but I have seen insane. I have seen stuck. I've seen those in loops. I've seen those who have gone insane and become ghouls. If I said to you, don't look at yourself, don't look at what you have on. Now, let's have 50 years, 25 years. Do you think you're going to remember what pair of shoes you had on? Ghouls are those spirits that have gone insane and they forget what they look like.
Mhm.
So I was explaining this gentleman, it's a long story, but this ghoul, this man became a ghoul because he forgot how to stand up. He put his head forward. He reminded me of Lurch from the Munsters. His face was drawn. He forgot his jaw. He forgot what everything looked like. And that we interpret as the demon on and on. Because of the Catholic environment, of course, there's help, but there isn't. We all pass over. We all recover from the strife and the everything, but not necessarily immediately. We are still the personality of us passing over. Oh my gosh, in 35 years, the first 15 years, I did work here in Sacramento, working for the Spirit of Grace every weekend, every event, six, seven people a day for 15 years about on the weekends. And I was a supervisor the first 2 years I got, 1990, May 4th, I just anniversary 35 years. And I was working as many hours as an engineering supervisor. And when you're promoted, they say, 60 plus hours a week. And I had to give up. And one lady said to me, "How dare you give this up when you gave hope to people?" And later on that I did quit the Alpha company and walked away from a really good career of making a lot of money to do this because we are ignorant on the value of living, breathing, and the amazement, this little piece of dirt in the universe floating around this big bulb up in the sky, that there's survival. And not only that, there's so many planets out there. I have two quick stories. There's a little girl. These are reels, Reels on YouTube. And and this little girl, she walked up to her mom at 2 years old. She says, Grandpa misses you. And up to that point, she kept saying, "There's a ghost in the house, ghost in the house." And then one day she recognized him from a picture. She says, "Oh, that's your daddy. Raise your hand if you've seen this reel, everybody." And the mama says, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, Daddy, Grandpa is over there, and he says that he misses you." So we use people like me and the innocence of judgment to give messages. Thing is, that daughter, who was 2 years old, never met this man because he died 20 years earlier. 20 years. And this innocent little darling got the message. And I happened to send that to a friend who also lost her father. This man gives her coins, but this spirit man had been trying to influence this little girl to talk. And when she finally talked and says, "I'm Grandpa," she said that to the mom, and you can hear mom's voice go like this, right? Okay, so that is absolutely the thing that I hear a lot. Besides past lives, that's a whole new show. You'd be astonished in 35 years how many parents call me up and go, "What am I doing with this storyline?" From grandmas calling me up screaming into the phone, "She just told me." I said, "First, don't yell." I mean, I want to talk about tonight that that we are in the midst of amazement. The other story, and I just want you to kind of hear it, another toddler in the car talking to mom. And it's a reel. She's sitting in the blue car seat and she's talking about before now. So if you have a child talking about things that sound like a farm or the horses, and they're only two or three, what's a horse? I mean, they knew. And she says, "Before now, I lived somewhere else." And the mom, gosh, bless her heart, she didn't get panicky. And I have great granddaughters, and I was saying to the mom, "Please follow through because I'm not listening to them talk. Is there any past life, any nothing?" I think maybe a select few kids can now remember the past. And so the mom and her coaching said, "What did you wear? What did it look like there?" And she says, "We lived in the trees, and my dress was leaves, and I had darker skin, and it was not here, it was somewhere else," implying another planet. And she gave enough information that the audience listening goes, "Oh, that's not Earth. Oh, no, 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 that's not Earth." And it's not like a million years ago when we were pre-human, because this little girl talked about how pretty she was or how beautiful the dress was. They were of a different complexion, probably because of the planet they were from. It's kind of amazing. And in my life, I've had experiences with alternate energy beings. And I have had people that I've talked to, and they are not of this planet. Now, who wants to believe me? Like this is so far out. And the older I get and the more I'm doing this, the juices, the work of my body, how this works, opens up even more. And I wish everybody I talk to in the chat room, hello, oh, Kelly is from Australia. Hello, sweetie, and Pamela. And I didn't notice who else. I wish I could see better. These glasses are
Well, we
computer,
have
not for reading.
we've got Jennifer Jamie's in here. We've got Kelly from Australia, and Pamela's in
Yeah, I
here
know.
today with us. Yeah,
Kelly's one of my students that I've had a long time ago. Bless
yeah.
her heart. And anyway, so what I'm going to is that life succeeds everything we want to figure out. I am also an advocate. Now, what I'm pointing out is a lot, but if you kind of embrace the idea that if anybody knows me, I'm too kind-hearted to lie. And why
Mhm,
should I? When you kids talk to me and want a session from me, I'm only going to tell the truth, but I also expect the truth from you because you
mhm,
can get loads of information. I talk peaceful now, but when I'm channeling or whatever you call it, I become you. Blah, 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 like that. I talk like this. It's too fast to be creative enough to tell a lie. And I'll come up with things. If Karen's listening to this, I'm going to speak to this. I was talking to one lady. There was a problem with a client, and I saw a starfish being on her back. And it was the size of like this big. And it was telling me that it was lost. And it clung to her as in recognition. And I went, oh, fudge. Guess what this lady's from? She's from a water world or some kind of world where the beings, don't know how this works, look like starfish, but they're not. They're not because there was lots of them. It's kind of creepy. And I went, oh right, let me go one more planet, one more event here. How do we prove this? And I also believe that we can all shift to different parallel dimensions. Where I'm going with this, the mysteries of the universe is so vast to think that when your loved one passes over, they go to dust. Oh my gosh, I have such belief in this now that we survive, and not only survive, we're happier. I've had people, I do this a lot. There's so many ways we leave our body. A couple call me and they go, well, dad or grandpa, and I call it putting my mind. When someone calls me as they're thinking of dad, they shoot energy to that individual. So when I blend with somebody, I go to that individual and follow that stream of thought, energy, um, psychic energy, plasma, whatever we want to call it, to that individual. And I saw him in the hospital bed, the body, and just above the body, like 2 feet, he was all laying on his back going, oh, it was almost like a pillow bed. He was just like floating above his body in his spirit form, waiting to leave. And I asked him, what are you doing? He says, I'm just relaxing, waiting. I said, who are you waiting for? My relatives. They're supposed to show. Okay, so his mother was going to greet him. I had this ability to go back to the exact moment I do a reading and recapture more. So I was waiting for his mother to show up. And I do enjoy listening to Julie, hospice nurse, on
I do too.
Reels. And she's wonderful. And she shows, as well as up others, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head,
Mhm,
of the dying process. And these sweet little people, aged. She's never shown someone too young. My father was 33, and that's too young, too young. He was killed by a drunk driver. But people reaching up and greeting people, and it's so common, amazing. And I have friends that call me and said, "Oh my gosh, there was a person there," and they kept calling their name. How can we not associate the wonder and the beauty of living a full life, breathing every day? I've had some health issues, Sharon. I've talked endless hours on people like ourselves that seem to fight our health. Too bad, right? I don't know what it is. I think it's we live too fast, too much energy spilled out all the time. The reward of living is my coffee every day. I can't have, I have to eliminate sugar and salt from my diet, but I can have my coffee, and I love it. I love it. And my son gave me coffee for Christmas. I had all these being mailed to me, and the mailbox was woohoo. So when I pass over, I'll be visiting people in the coffee shop. I don't know. But we have a love for life, and that love does not stop. The love for you does not stop. I want you to think of someone that you love, whoever's listening. And I just picked up something. So I have a son who lives in Chandler, and my mother's family, American Indians. Well, American Indians don't have body hair. My son he's 52. All he has is a little bit here and here. But when I put my mind to him and move myself very close to his face, he has stubble and it's a man face, right? And I can actually go right now, just did, and I give him a kiss. The thing is that he's gifted like I am, and I think he knows I kiss him a lot. You can do that too. What is that? That's our life force, our energy, our spirit. It moves from us to somebody else. I can embrace and kiss each of my grandbabies. Oh, they're so cute. Blue-eyed blonde kids. Boop, 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 boop. Look at how dark I am, and I got blue-eyed blonde babies in the family. Um, the thing is that if I can do it, you can do it. And the proof that we don't live in this flesh and we're not trapped in this flesh. And when we die, it just dissipates and just goes away. I have clients all around the world. I put my mind to them. I can give readings. I have a client. I don't do email readings anymore, except for a couple that connect still. Two girls took advantage of me. And I said, you ruined it for everybody. You too have ruined it for everybody. But there's a couple that I talked to in Singapore, and I put my mind to them and their cat. And now my mind is to her and her ill father who's got dementia or Alzheimer's. So it's amazing to me, and Italy and New York and Kelly and Australia, wherever. Gosh, I got, oh yeah, there's Malaysia and Malta and how is this possible? I move my life force. There's no time, no distance, and it's like that. That's because the universe has secrets that we have yet to understand. And part of that is once a spirit is formed, energy does not diminish from us. It's actually kind of a, I live with a little bubble right here that we survive, and I'm going to live every day. I'm going to write my books. I'm going to do my own podcast. I'm dealing with a health issue again, everybody, and get my podcast going so you learn more from me. But I live in this bubble and it keeps pushing me to say to you, stop thinking that death is the end. Your loved ones have not gone anywhere. And I got a little note from Shar saying, this person isn't getting told. When you're in grief, when I touch your life force, when I'm around you, you look like a firecracker to me. You're going, blah, 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 blah. No wonder. You got to calm yourself as though you're sitting on one of my favorite meditators is sitting on a seat on the shoreline of a little lake at midnight and the moon is shining on it and it's calm. I sit there and I pull my life force and I calm it down. When you do that, then I touch base with you. Absolutely. But when you look like a firecracker to me, that poor spirit person goes, well, she's not ready. Oh my gosh. They are very patient. They can be. They have a long time. So they will wait for you to be able to be received. Now, after the death of my father-in-law, the family didn't get any messages. I did. And I had been divorced for years. I didn't know he liked me. I just still didn't like him. I went, wait a minute, what are you hugging me for? Go back, go find a family member. And it was for not just my validation and survival, because I already knew it, but he knew he could reach me. So I told my ex-husband, and he told his mother. They didn't recognize what he had on. I go, I can't help that. He came to visit me. So everybody lives. And I know some people will ask, well, okay, I have a relative that was a stinker. And I says, oh, they're paying the price. They get over those regrets. Oh my gosh, I'm dealing with somebody now. And I says, I know how you feel about this. What you don't want is this individual in your house. Tell this person they had a good life, they lived hard, you suffered enough, go find some reward. Let them explore their life because when you pass over, you have to relive the things you've done wrong. You feel the other person. Absolutely. I have heard that over and over and over from spirit people. And regrets. And sometimes your kids will get hold of me for reading, and then we find out it wasn't even your idea, it was a spirit person. They kind of maneuver you around to find me. How is that possible? They set up the domino effect to make sure that you find somebody that has ability. And there's me on every block in America. Not everybody does readings, but I've been in it 35 years, and plenty of others have. And you will be directed to somebody where you'll have that level to hear what you need to hear in that person's voice. I'm pretty straight shooter. I don't know how to flower. I have a friend that taught creative writing, and she writes, woohoo, I used to be an engineering person. I'm facts. Mwah. I tell it, I got a red, white shirt on, but she would describe it as floral, as no, I can't even pronounce the words. I mean, get real excited, right? And so I'm a fact person. I tell it like this, and not a lot of people like that. Some people want the angels and they want the flower. Well, that's fine. You go somewhere else then. So you would be directed to go to somebody that will say it your way and honor that. And it's so exciting. Um, I was just thinking of someone the other day. Let's see, how did that work? Oh yeah, yeah. So a woman calls me up. Of course she's a woman or man, right? Asking about this individual. And I said, "Oh, I know you want me to say that he's here, but there was things in his life he did right and a lot of things he did wrong. But he also greatly enjoyed life." And I was telling her, um, and it was kind of an odd message, as though to say, you have some doors ahead of you. And you're standing there thinking, what door do I want? Do I want a relationship and a family where there's a lot of kids? Or do I want to live in a country where I've never been before, Japan, Egypt, somewhere? Do I want to have a life where I'm doing a hobby? And that's what I got. A hobby like being a chef or eating specialty. So I was born with a delicate stomach. I've never enjoyed food very much. There's only a few things that really coffee, but I've never enjoyed food like my husband does. He eats the spiciest. Mm. But what if I could choose a life where I enjoyed food to a level I've never had before? Perhaps I would come into a family of a different culture, and I really love Hispanic peoples and foods. Maybe I come as Hispanic family and have someone in the family that cooks wonderful food, and I get to enjoy that for a whole lifetime. That is a real bona fide thing. When did I get up my eye? Oh gosh. So what directs us to have a life in a particular situation, it's unbelievable. And this individual hadn't been gone very long. And I thought, what a strange thing. And the woman said to me, she says, he had a hard time the last months of his life, and he couldn't eat anything he liked. And I thought, how interesting that that's what he shows me, that he may be gone. He may have come back. And then I felt from her, what, he's not going to be there to greet me? And I said, you are really young. I believe there's going to be love interest for you. And you may not be wanting just him to greet you. It may be the next guy. See, we can't dictate. And that happens a lot. The 83-year-old woman married Carmichael, California, about 20 years ago. I'm sure she's passed over. And then at the time, she didn't say, she said it was okay if I told the story. She called me up and she wanted her mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, and her dead husband out of the study because that's where she sewed. Okay, we got rid of that. And then she went to the church and she met Ed. And she calls me and she says, "Oh my God, I'm in love." She's 83, 84 probably. And she told me, she says, "Oh, I feel really bad though." I says, "What's wrong?" "Well, he's a couple of years younger." I says, "Of course you robbed the cradle." And of course, 83. And she says, "I never realized that at my age, I could feel 13 years old inside." So as old as you get, you still have rewards, you still have excitement, and you get to take that over. Maybe Ed, in his before you came here, remember, I'm a little more liberal than most people. In fact, I got my ministry, the National Association of Spiritualists, the Fox Sisters, is the head. And then we have Universal Christ of the Master, which I was part of in California for 15 years. And then I got my ministry from Reverend Judy Fisher, and she was Church of the Living God, Sedona, Arizona. I know, February 92. Would you believe I got it? Sedona, Arizona, when it was a cow patty town. I went there like, ooh, it's a little icky town. And here, Blossom is a metaphysical area. Who knew? But she believed in reincarnation. And I did too at that point. So I got my ministry through a different group because there's so much marvelous thing. As I said earlier, for you who are grieving, it's amazing that this little bubble inside my chest, and I see little kids, and I go, wonder who you were. You'd be amazed how many past life regressions I've done. And I felt the last life. I could feel what they went through. It's amazing. It puts you at peace at night. I don't worry about, nor do I think of, nor does it enter my dreams. Oh, this is yeah, I'm 77. It could be next week, everybody. You know what I think of? The next big adventure. Did I live today? Did I enjoy today? Did I not waste today? At, at this time, I'm as healthy as I can be. I'm always busy because life's too short to grieve on any level for anything. What I tried to point out earlier, didn't probably put enough time to it, is that when you choose a life, whether it's the first time or a million times, you will choose a life for what you have not experienced before or what you want to expend upon or do more of. Like I was telling somebody, I want to come back and teach physics. I want to be somebody who goes into outer space. I'm very techy. And then I thought, my family's so small. It's like one handful of people, and the children are finally having children. But this age group, there's like four of us. That's kind of like scary, right? I think I would like to enjoy a family with seven, eight, nine kids. What a mess. What excitement. What a holiday season that these people could have of any culture, of the foods and the excitement of love. How many love levels are there? How many hugs and kisses? In my lifetime, I had not enjoyed that. I don't know what it feels like to have the hugs and kisses of extended, or even my mother. She grew up in an environment, no disrespect of how my grandmother was raised, but those people were not emotionally tight with their kids. They might have honored and cherished them, but the love, how they lived was different. And so my mother was raised in what we would call a cool environment. Subsequently, I was raised in a cool environment. And so when I got married and had kids, I kind of went overboard with the Christmas environment. But I never really learned how to be that soft. I kissed a lot and everything as we do with children, but it was a different level. It was different. So maybe next time, instead of being a physics teacher, calculus, or whatever, because I love space and all that comes with it, maybe I should pick a family where you get to have kisses 24/7, as well as the drama and trauma of extended family life. You also have that choice. When we think of life that way, the dis, the exit of a family member, of living in this life, transitioning to pure energy and enjoying the freedom of exploring the universe and any time in history, to then choose a next life, you should be excited. Oh, finally, they're not having to carry around this big luggy suit of, I almost said something that would have been really awful. This burden of flesh. Oh my gosh. You know how many people visit me and say, oh, I feel so light. I feel light. It's like I have vision all around me. You watch near-death experiences enough, you understand. This one man came to me, or a woman, it's been too long. And I says, what do you, she says, I never had very good eyesight. Now I see all around me all the time. Oh, really? Okay. Oh, Shar and I can identify with that. I had eye surgery, and I went from two glasses to live my life. Now I have to have three. But it's clear, and I found out after cataract surgery that there's a real color. Here I'm an artist. Van Gogh was colorblind. We look at his artwork, his paintings, his whoa, 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 brilliant and over the top. Well, the man couldn't see well. He couldn't see color. So he went overboard, which made him the famous artist he is today. Who knew, right? Well, who was that composer that was deaf, right? And then so all kinds of people create magic on paper, pen, and artwork. And so as a spirit person, they are beyond that then. Do we recover immediately from the woes of the illnesses or whatever of this lifetime? I had a friend named Donna Vasquez. She died February 2001. I know my head's full of this kind of stuff. Anyway, she died. She had spina bifida, And so after her death, within 6 months or so, she showed up at my office one day. And of course, she showed up when I had a client there, right? Just before the fellow showed up. And she's standing on my ottoman to my chair. And she's still 4'10", but if she had not had spina bifida and her legs had grown, she always told me she thought she would be 5'10". She had these really, really, really big arms. And she said to me, Nancy, Nancy, I'm standing up. She could never stand up. Look at me, I'm standing up. I go, wow, darling, these are fabulous. She said, but yet, Fudge, I'm still only 4'10". And she didn't say fudge. She used the other word, everybody. And she said, wah, wah, wah. And I go, okay. She thought she'd have legs, but she never had legs. And I had another friend who lost her leg. And as spirit person, she didn't care if it was there or not. She, I don't care. Everybody knows me as one-legged. Did an entertaining of a group of people, and this couple was sitting across from this little young man, about 15 or 17 years old, and they wanted to know who his guide was. And just then, this man was sitting on my feet to make me sure to look down, and he had been born with a terrible condition where his legs were folded up under him, very, very shriveled up, and so he moved around by moving his arms. He looked that way in spirit for identity because he hopped across from me to this boy. And I had that thought in my mind. I went, oh God, I'm going to be really right. I'm going to be really wrong. The humanness of me, the doubt. Don't doubt. Don't doubt. You say what you get. And the minute I said that, they all started screaming. They knew exactly who I was talking about because I doubted. I almost didn't give that one thing they needed the most. That young man knew his uncle that way and oops, excuse me. Oh, goosebump time. It was so emotional. It was a long time ago too. I'm sorry. Recover, recover. You don't realize how emotional this is to me when people get the light bulb on. Oh my God, that man alive. He's here. Well, yeah, because I'm looking at him. Duh. Like, why would I lie? Why would I make up of all things a man walking on his hands? Right? Wow. I had a beautiful young woman come and visit me when I lived off of Bebel, another one a house I flipped. I was flipping homes when it wasn't even popular. And she walked in, and like I said, the coloring I have, I'm older, so I'm kind of faded out a little bit. American Indian, so I was always really dark. But when I did genealogy, American Indian was the last entry. That's because my grandmother, all right? But I was also 13% Portuguese. And where did that come from? So the darkness. And yet there you are. Well, this woman comes in looking like me. And she says, I have all this spirit family. I really, and so these people start showing up. African American, dark, dark. And I thought to myself, okay, this is going to be tough. I'm going to be really right. I'm going to be really wrong. She was adopted, and she was a blend of cultures, but she was clearly an African. But I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know. When I talk to you kids in this room, I don't know who you are. All that matters to me, and we did this a few times. I call it who's standing next to you, and people would type in, and then I would say who's standing next to you. You know why? It doesn't matter to me. What I describe is who I see. And I can't make it up because I can't see you. Well, this young lady walked in. She was kind of a bigger, taller girl. And all these family members, wow, wow, a little shorter and dark, dark. And I went, wow, what an interesting family. She says, I don't know if you're going to get anybody right, but I'm adopted to this family that I found love. They found love. And all that matters is love. Doesn't matter who you look like or what your color is or culture or anything. Because once everybody pulls their skin off or they talk to me on the phone, we're all the same. We all desire, we all love, we all miss. We don't want death of our relatives. If I can do this for the rest of my life, is have you believe there's life forever. And when your family member leaves, I never wanted to have my mother come over. She avoided me most of my life. I wouldn't want to hear from her. You don't have to. You block her. You emotionally block her. You did it. You already did it. So they wouldn't. When I saw my father-in-law, that's curious. You bring that up. I wasn't like really fond of him, but he knew that I would tell my ex-husband, we dictate who we want as our to greet us and take care of us or to visit us. You're not the only one that has said that to me. It's not that uncommon. Why you have this kind of relationship? In the afterlife, if you look that person up, you can talk about it. Maybe that person killed you last lifetime, was forced to bury you in this one, forced to give you life in this one because they took it from you last time. I've given talks where I've seen people murdered, and I'm going, oh, it's amazing. I'm so intrigued. Here it is. I call my friends up. I'll tell Shar or Connie or some other people. I go, oh my God, this session. And then I'll say to the person, did I say that? It sometimes comes so fast to me. I go, wow, you cannot doubt. For you who are listening or wanting to be readers, you have to have purity of soul. You have to be physically fit. You have to have the best intention to give answers to people who are wanting them. Entrance to another soul is a sacred honor. It's also sacred honor on my part to have you believe your life does not end. You may grieve those family members, oh, they're old, it's okay, until you have a child that passes away. My ex-husband lost a child, a son, a brother at 3. He was 3 years old, the boy. Terrible thing to happen in that family. Yes, I know what it feels like. It looked like my father was killed at 33. I was 6 years old. All my life I've missed him, and I have a friend that's a hypnotherapist. And I said, I'd like to be hypnotized, so I go back just so I can remember his face. Just a photograph doesn't work anymore, which is tough. That's tough. So I hope 4:42. How much time we have? 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah, about 18 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I hope I didn't overwhelm you or talk too fast. Am I too exuberant? Am I too blah 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 blah? Um, I'm not phony. This is what I do for
The
35
question I
years.
have that I want to put forth because it's this question that comes up, during my readings. Once they cross over, do they stay there, or are they able to come back and forth to visit with you?
The veil is so thin they can stay here or go somewhere else. So a lady whose brother committed suicide, when he got into the afterlife, this is so amazing, everybody. This is one of those. So she calls me and she said, "What is he doing? Where is he? What am I?" And he says, "I'm in the Mediterranean, living the life of Johnny Depp on Pirates of the Caribbean."
Wow.
Wow, right? So he went back 400 years to, and I want to make clear, live the life of a pirate. And my friend, who is a client, rather, she's what we call a contrary. And she always is contrary to everything you say because that empowers her. We're all different. So she called the man's son up and told him what I talked to this woman, and she said he is in the Caribbean, living the life of Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, Auntie, didn't you know that was his favorite movie? And he's got a basement. He was putting together a ship, model ship, and he has posters all of Johnny Depp all around his basement because he loved the show so much. I mean, the basement was full of paraphernalia of Johnny Depp and Pirates of the Caribbean. And she called me up and she told me this, and I was going to interview her on the show because of all the things I could come up with, right?
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp. But what got me was the next time we talked, we talk once a month, and I remembered something which threw me off. I don't like living this life. He said that, and because we talked to him a few times, and it occurred to me that he went back in time to be born to a man that would end up on a pirate ship. And they did a lot of kidnapping in those years, right? And my husband watches a lot of those older TV movies where the pirates and the swashbuckler and all those things. I don't watch anything like that, nothing, anything with guns or violence or swords. So, horses are in there. But I told him what the ship looked like and that the outside of the ship was black. And it was very small, the size of the Nina Pina and the Santa Maria. I mean, they were very small ships, was astounding to me. And he said to me, well, Nancy, they used to coat the outside of these ships with tar, and they were small with big sails, so they'd be fast. They come up on other ship, rob it, and then take off, and big ship couldn't catch them. What do I know? I don't know. So I was validated by my own husband. So the next time we talk, I've been talking to her for almost about 7 or 8 years. He died 10 years ago, this man. And so we talked, and he said to the sister through me, I don't like this life, and I think that women have it too easy. Women don't have to do things like this. Well, I've had a really hard life. You know, tell me how easy it is. I was kind of like put out. I didn't say anything. It's not my right. And so the sister said, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" Something through me, because he's hooked into me. I'm hooked into her. It's all kind of like flowing back and forth. And he says, "I'm going to come back as a woman." I go, "Fine." Yeah, I'm going, go for it. And the next time we talked, he said, "This is me." And I went, "Yay!" He was a washwoman. He was a ample bodied washwoman with layers of clothing on with a big emperor. And then those years, they had big basins, and I didn't know they had laundromats in those years, but I guess the wealthy didn't ever clean their own clothes, so they take them to the laundry. Supposedly. And this big old woman was cleaning, and he ended up being her. Yay! So now he experienced the pirate ship. He didn't like that life. And the very next life, whatever era, it was very old. Maybe if the pirate ship was 400, this was 300. Really hard life of laundry. And I went, he could have picked a wealthy man. Why did he pick a laundry? I don't know. I just work here. I was so astounded. And then when that life was over, he says, I'm done. I'm going to stay in afterlife. And what he did was he traveled to other planets. He wanted to see what else was out there. I would have done that first. Yet, someone else I know, oh, it was you, Shar. So Shar's dad dies, right? She calls me up, right, Mama.
Oh
And I
yeah.
says, well, he wants to tell you that he's in China on the Great Wall of China. And I told her that, and she goes, oh, say, okay, what did you say? You remember?
I said, yeah, I said that that figures because that was something that he had told us he had dreams about back when he was in the 60s and stuff. And he said, I'd really like to go to China, see the Great Wall, and take a boat up that
Yeah.
river, and all that. And so, to give you the context of all this, he passed away at around 4:30 in the afternoon. My mother and I were sitting with him, and I could feel him kind of moving around the room because it was a cold spot. And then the cold spot went away. So I said,
Hmm.
Mom, they're coming to take him, and put him in the morgue and stuff. Let's go get some dinner. It's going to be a long night. And so we stopped off to McDonald's, get dinner. We're in the car, and I called Nancy, and I'm like, hey, my dad died. And she goes, well, yeah, I know. He's in China. And I went, wow.
The Great Wall of China, I said.
The Great Wall of China. Yeah. So that's where that was his dream, and so that's where he headed. The second he found that he could walk and be
Yeah,
functional, off he went. He just took off.
took off. And that is our choice. Now, why would I say the Great Wall of China? Why in the
Yeah.
world would I come up with that?
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll give you such details that I go, oh, you wow, wow, am I going to be wrong? Am I going to be right? And then I'll just say what I get, and you can't judge it. And it
Mm-hmm.
was exactly what Shar would need. Exactly. Great Wall of China. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
How,
Now,
go ahead.
what people, because we talk about them being able to travel and pick the areas they want to be in. A lot of the concern that I get is he able to come see me, or is she able to
Oh,
come see her?
absolutely. In and out all the time. Absolutely. They flicker in. I feel if you what great what dreams may come.
Mm-hmm.
And in the dream they talk about travel. All you have to
Mm-hmm.
think about, as with Shars point out, listen to this. He wanted to see the Great Wall of China. If you can think it, you are already there. When
Mm-hmm.
I do a reading, say Italy, I talk to them pretty often. We'll connect. We do always do a video that fast. My essence is with her in that second. Thought
Mm-hmm.
transference, like in the movie Dune, the first one, where the beast ingests the spice. And what they do is they think about where they want to go. They go plant bien, boom, boom, and they show up somewhere else. Absolutely. We cross time and space with a thought. So if you think of somebody in spirit, you go, I haven't heard from you for a while. Boom, they're there. Amazing. I think of my mother. She died in '09. And as years go
Mm-hmm.
on, I think of her more often. Well, it's because I think she hangs around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as my grandmother Blanche, the one with the Indian heritage. I can feel people around me all the time. I had one gentleman date me. He said, I don't know if I want to date you anymore. I said, "What?" I really liked him a lot. And he says, I feel like you're never alone. We are never alone. That's right.
Never.
I'm never
Never.
alone.
That was my
Never,
next question
ever.
coming up too. How could somebody? And I know sometimes the dead will leave us signs, like there might be pennies or something like that that they leave, or something familiar. How can somebody tell if a loved one? Because if somebody's really grieving, they won't.
Remember, it's harder to get a message to someone when they're fire. The energy is
Yeah,
like a firecracker.
and when they want to, and because what happens is when they do come to visit, you don't want to let them go, and they want to have that freedom, and that's the thing. So they may not come to you right away after they pass because they want because you need to be at a certain level mentally, to see and talk
So,
with
What
them,
Dreams May Come does address that. And Robin Williams was killed in a car accident. Prior to his being unfortunately killed in a
Mm-hmm,
car accident, they lose their two children in a car accident.
mm-hmm,
So the grieving wife is having a terrible time. And that after he's buried, she's grieving for him at the cemetery. He can feel that. So he goes to greet her, but in her just doubled up pain of loss, she's not enlightened to think he's okay. When he
mm-hmm.
comes around, that pulls you into a deeper grief because you
Right,
can't feel him physically.
right.
So he says in the movie, What Dreams May Come, I recommend to everybody. It covers a lot of what I
Yes.
believe in, as well as good fiction. On
Mm-hmm.
their way to find his wife, hell, all the faces of the ground, burning ships. I don't see any of that. 35 years, I've never seen anything like that. No, no. But in way they travel, it demonstrated absolutely. The grieving, you grieve so deeply that when the spirit person comes around, you feel their essence, you grieve even deeper. So he says to her, I'm going to let you live your life. I want you to emotionally recover. I'm going to back away until later. So sometimes if you are hung up and can't live, I had this example. I had this lady come to me. She was just really grieving, almost to the point of got red nose still. I'm crying a lot. I go, wow. And I says, what's happening? She says, I'm still grieving a breakup of a man I was dating. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I really wanted to help her through this. And I said, casually, I said, oh, well, just give me an idea. How long has it been? Weeks or a few months? How long's it been? 17 and a half years. Excuse me? I'm sure she's passed on. Her name was Cora. And I said to her, it's been a long time since I talked to her, but she's somebody I do speak of. Her life has stopped.
Mm-hmm,
She didn't live her days. She didn't live free. She didn't explore. She didn't look for more. If
mm-hmm,
you're not living your life to the fullest, then you've lost your life.
mm-hmm,
And you lose your life to someone who doesn't want you to. If that
mm-hmm,
person before they died, if you said, can I grieve you and give up my life for 17 and a half years? They would say, what? You're supposed to live. How many stories do we hear about someone dying and they say to the spouse, you're not meant to be single. I want you to find somebody else. I want you happy. They want you happy because
mm-hmm,
what a greedy situation to think that they would tie you to the memory of them forever.
mm-hmm,
Forever. The dead don't want you unhappy. They want you to embrace life and eat the pizza. I tell my kids, the minute you serve me pepperoni pizza and Krispy Kreme donuts, I know I'm leaving because I want that food for the last month of my life. I never eat pizzas, salt, fat. I never have donuts or anything like sugar. So, I want, and excitement. What will I feel like when I'm dying? Um, I think I'm going to be around for a while. Someone tell me about the next three books being boom, boom, boom like this. I
mm-hmm.
absolutely. What will not make me write all eight? Maybe I just trim it up for a while. The thing is that we all have a journey. We all choose a life. We all have a destination. We all have purpose, even if you can't think of it. I told one lady, I said, she says, oh, I don't know why I'm here. She's middle aged. She says, it's just been a battle. And she says, I want you to tell me what my purpose in my life is. Younger brother, blonde hair, blue eyes. He's always in trouble, always leans on you. I heard her gasping. It was over the phone. And she says, the younger brother, I said, did you raise him? Yes, I did. I said, that's the reason you came first. He's been under trials and he hasn't done a good job. He was doing a lot of things he shouldn't. And he saw her as mother. They made an arrangement. That was your purpose. I know you had kids. I know you had a career, but you made a pre-life agreement to do life again with the same individuals last time. Different dynamics. Instead of mother, father, or a spouse, you were his older sister.
Mm-hmm.
That's a purpose. That's a passion. That's a reason to come at all. Absolutely. And so, even if I don't know the outcome of that because it's been a long time, I do know that when you can hear, you can watch my eye, watch her eyes. She's searching for memory. I do know when we hung up, she gave me a sense of breathing. Hmm. Like she embraced that thought. I'm here for my brother. Doesn't mean she takes him in again because they're all grown up, right? But what she did is she accepted the idea that they had loved before and they loved in this lifetime again, just different dynamics. Okay, that's good enough. Holy fight. Ask me about my black cat over there, how much I love him. Doesn't even make any sense. He sounds like a Siamese. You know, I'm surprised he's not jumping up on you. How did that work out in the past life? Maybe I loved the cat before. We're going to do the dance again. 11 years. How about that, right? I think that everything has a consciousness, everything has a soul. Plants, particularly cactuses. I was driving across the Mojave Desert, and there was a cluster of cactuses to my left, all age groups. You know, they're 50 years old before they start branching off. Who knew, right? And I don't know what I was doing, but I had my switches on, and I looked over, and a cloud had formed above them, distorted space, a little like a light charcoal color, and it came down to each of them. And I had the sense, this is amazing. I had a sense of saying family conversations. They were connected to each other by energy, and I could see them talking. You know, we don't keep our conscious inside our brain, it rolls around us. Plants, cactuses, cats, dogs, everybody. Have you not seen a herd of elephants protecting their baby
Mm-hmm.
or the intelligence of the dolphin? Tell me, we just choose a different life. If you want to come back as a dolphin, I may come back as a cat. No, I want to be a physics or calculus teacher. Absolutely. I want to talk about outer space dynamics. See how mine work. Someone said, Nancy, we got to look at your brain when you leave here. You do this, but you think this way. Yeah, I know
Mm-hmm.
it, right? I'm crazy. But it's that excitement of how I even use my brain that excites me to want to learn more. I read volumes and volumes of this kind of stuff. So each of you listening has your own magic, your own purpose, your own passion for being here. Life does not end. You just take your experiences to the next level where your family has had the same experience. When they come over, they go, oh, is that what my life was about? Wow, that's really interesting. And then you can choose to do one again if you want to embrace that idea. If we survive death and there is more to it, why not try it again? I've actually felt spirits pass through me. It was Black Eagle Drive, 91, 92, my first house after my divorce. And I was outside and the spirit went right through me, a newborn. And I hadn't seen my neighbors forever. And they were Asian and like 80 pounds, right? Little woman. And I thought, oh, she's going to have a baby. Went right through me and it felt feminine to me. I said, "Oh, little girl," and I saw her about a month later, and she had this big old thing around her. I says, "Oh, that spirit joined late." And she was only 5 months along, but to me, she was only 80 pounds to begin with, right? And it was a boy, so a feminine soul joined her to become a male child. I mean, you can't even make this up because I didn't know they were even pregnant, and that's happened more often. And I went to a party once. What I'm trying to do is show you different examples. Like I said, I can't even make this stuff up because I'm an engineering thought process. The baby 5 months old was yelling at me. What am I doing in this body? Why am I here? What is this? She couldn't talk, couldn't do nothing. Mom was holding it. I just glanced over and locked eyes with me. That's why I don't like going to cemeteries so much. But we live in Orville. There's 3 cemeteries here. When I moved here, my husband came first, and I sold the house, came down. He was driving me to the cemetery. I thought you'd like to see him. All I was seeing, I was doing this. I go, I don't want to lock eyes with any spirit person. Oh, please, please, don't join us in the car, which has happened a lot. And the thing I'm trying to point out is if you'd be comfortable with me talking about this and enjoy it, enjoy your life, be like a, oh, what are they doing now? I called somebody and they rushed over. I'm here, and almost knocked me over. This happens so many times. We're living with ghosts here. Now, you separate your mind from here, a ghost, but not a forever with your relative.
Hmm.
Come on, let's weave those storylines together so you understand this did not end. They are not dust. They did not just go to the grave. Preference of cremation to me. Spirit people never talk about their bodies. Oh, that? How many near-death experiences have we witnessed through YouTube or Reels? And they see this body on the ground or on the operating table or somewhere else. They go, well, look at that guy. He's a mess. And then they realize, oh, shucks, that's me. They don't even recognize themselves. And you get older like me and you have the body parts carved up. You go, did you miss that body part? Gallbladder, whatever? I didn't miss it. Did you have your teeth pulled or some other hair cut? Did you miss that? Don't miss it. You don't know it. You don't want it. So why be hung on to it? It's just a vessel for them to experience life. So don't think of them. I was living in Sierra Vista military base there. A young woman walks in, and next, I've told this story before. Man walks in with her, a spirit man, and he's got lines all over him of red. And I went, oops. She walks in. I said, you come in and talk about a man who looks like he got blown up, huh? He did. They were in a convoy and they had eaten breakfast that morning and talked and enjoyed life. They got in their vehicles and she was injured, but she took upon herself to collect the body parts of this man that she adored. And he said to her, he says, I will stay this way. This is going to be hard for you to hear. Once you hear it, I will stay that way until she sees me as whole. So he says, he showed me um, where they eat. You know, in schools, elementary schools, they had the big long tables, like all schools, I guess, and they were eating breakfast and they were laughing. I can't remember who sat next to her across. I think it was across. He says, have her remember breakfast, not now, not as I am today. And I said, I want you, he's saying, and I told her everything I was getting from him. And she started to realize she's started this blonde, blue-eyed, really wonderful looking girl. And I could feel her thinking about breakfast and how they were laughing. I'm gonna cry in a minute. Sorry. And how wonderful they were having a meal. Hold on. And then the disaster, the terrible thing happened. And what she was remembering was picking up his body parts. And he said, please, breakfast. And as she was thinking to him, I could almost feel the laughter in the morning. The red line started disappearing. He became whole. If you have loved ones that have been damaged, back up to the day before or the last time you saw them. I had a terrible situation of a man. The wife comes to me. Their teenage boy fell over the boat and got hit with the fan of the blades of the fan of the motor. And she says the husband's having a terrible time. The boy came. He says, "Stop making it. Stop." You addressed the question by Jerry. I can't even see the questions, honey. Uh, Shar, if there's a question, I can't see it.
Okay.
I
Well,
see
what we'll do is
Jennifer.
I'll
Jennifer
forward the
got it.
question.
She made it big enough. So I told the wife, and though she was talking to me, she got it. And I says, have him see the sun before you guys went out, because the boy showed me being cut up. And she just had a hard time. I said, you got to do that because you're trapping the boy into his death of how he died. Char, what's the question?
I can't
What is
even
it?
read the question.
Oh, spirit. So that I was living in Harbor, California, and I was sitting there one night, and a girl came to me, a spirit woman, and she had fallen in the water and drowned, and they couldn't find her body. And she was Hispanic. Her hair came to her shoulders, and it was curly, kind of. And she had a short, maybe if I say it enough times, I'll know. I, she had a short sleeve shirt on with a ruffle that went around the edge, so her arm was bare. It was a white dress, and she drowned. How she got there? Was she murdered or did she fall? With the dress on, she was in the water. Kind of makes me get a bad feeling. Trouble is, couldn't, I couldn't. find out who she was, first off. And the second thing is, if I told her to go on, she didn't want to. They can make that decision. Now, when I went back east to Boston, I have a granddaughter that's going to Boston University there somewhere, film and music, wherever it is in Boston. So we went to Boston and walked around and we passed the cemetery. And unfortunately, I locked eyes with a spirit girl. We've mentioned on the show, Nancy, the dead spirit. What kind of culture was she? She was Quaker. She was a Quaker girl, and she locked eyes with me and thought I was her mother, and I could feel her sister, her father. And so I called my friend. I said, I got this woman on my girl on my back, and she started describing. I said, oh my God, I'm not making this up. There she is. And my friend could feel her, and I, anyway. So what I said to her was, I'm not your mother. I can't help you because I don't know how to. But if you could turn around and see your dad is there, she must have had a wonderful relationship with her father. But then the younger sister was also there. So being that the younger sister and her were about the same age, might have been typhus or something in that era that killed both of them. But this girl grieved missing her father, not only her sister. So she got stuck waiting at her grave for someone to come get her. Holy tomatoes. So being who I must look like her. And I said, I'm not her. Turn around. Just turn around and your father's right there. And my friend who was on the phone with me, we were during part of a tour, I had to step aside, she disappeared. So you have to admit that you cannot do everything. You have to be honest with that person. If they came to the front door of your home, standing there, a live person, and they said, I think you're my mother, or I need help from you, how would you answer? Pretend they're alive and standing right in front of you. And same as people say, I'm being haunted or my child's having a problem. I said, you let them in your house? Get them out of your house. Don't let them be. Uninvite them like a vampire. They're spirit people, but they can't have. You can talk gentle. Your voice is. If you get angry and wah wah wah, they can't stay around that because they want to be kingpin of the house. You be kingpin. Shove them away. A lost person is lost. Think of it as a lost child. How would you deal with it? Be sympathetic. Be curious. Be willing to talk to them. You do the talking. I know you're lost. I'm really sorry about this. Evidently, I can't hear how you pass over. I don't know where you're from, but you're searching. So this happened with a client. They can't, said this guy came into their house and hovered around the son, or child rather. And when I talked to him, I said, "Oh my gosh, that man is looking for a dead child." And I said, "You want to tell this person that you're not the family he's looking for, and to go on, and they will." And that happened. I don't know, Shar. It seems like I might have connected with Shar on this story. Was it yours, a client of yours I talked to about the boy, and there was the
Yeah,
man there, and was it
yeah,
one of her people's? I said, this man's looking for a blonde, blue-eyed boy,
yeah,
and your child of reckon is just that. But this is a different era. This is like 40, 50 years that he's been looking.
yeah.
And you have to tell them, you know, I can't remember exactly what I'm saying, what I said at the time, but he did disappear. So that's how you do it, encapsulate.
All right. Nice.
All right.
Jerry, in answer to your question, yes, I'll help her out. Yeah, give me her contact information, and I'll take it from there. All right, guys. So that's it for today. That's our date with Nancy today. I hope you guys learned a lot. I sure as hell did. And Sunday, of course, we'll be back at 6 p.m. Pacific, reading the spooky storybook. And I'm thinking a
Spooky
field trip to
stuff.
the I'm thinking I'm thinking a field trip to the cemetery this weekend. We'll see how that works out. Try and squeeze it in with stuff. I am doing a lot of yard work right now, so we'll see. We'll see how that flows. And I want to get my yard to the point where I can have breakfast with you guys out in the yard, do some meditation and things like that. So I'm working on that. Okay. Anyway, Jerry, yes, just contact me if you would. And guys, join me at 6 p.m. Pacific. That's a little under an hour for free tarot card reads on TikTok. You learn about your past, present, future. Also, we have fun. I'm not like any psychic you've ever seen on TikTok. It's a blast. So it's just like the rocket comes out and boom, off we go. So it's 4 hours of a lot of fun over there. And yeah, so come on over and check it out. That's 6 p.m. Pacific. Nancy, how can people find you?
My name, nancymatzpsychic.com, nancymatzauthor.com. That's the easiest way to get to me is the one site, Nancy Matz is really old. Gosh, I'd like to move it over to Nancy Matz Author sometime in the future. I even hired somebody to do it for me, and it was so complex. I'm like, oh, it's too hard. I might as well do it myself if I have to explain every step to take. So those are the two places to find me.
Okay.
Go read those sites, and my phone number's listed. Email is easier for me.
All right, guys.
Okay.
So we
Bye,
will see you.
everybody.
Nancy will probably see you on Friday, and of course I'll be back on Sunday, and maybe it'll be a double feature. Quick trip to the cemetery, and then read the book and stuff this weekend. So we're gonna have some fun. Field trips are starting, and like I said, I'm gonna be expanding the show over to TikTok. And Nancy and I are even considering a roundtable type of show as well, or just doing turning this show into a paranormal roundtable, where you can come on and ask us questions and stuff during the show. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. What comes up out of it. But ideas, ideas, ideas. It's all time consuming to figure out the ideas and what we want to do. All right, Nancy. Thank you as always. It was fun.
All right, Tara. I hope I helped your kids here. Don't get
Yeah,
afraid
you
of
did.
death.
Yeah, you did.
Just look at it as the next step.
Yep, gotcha. All right, here we go. See you guys in
Okay.
about a little under an hour.
Bye bye.